Hey. Happy Friday, y'all. So, it's Anjanika Brooks here again today. I think yesterday I posted a story that I wanted to go live today and talk about parenting. How do you parent when you're unmothered? So, I'm going to be continuing my series from Unmothered to Empowered, and I just wanted to come on here and share what I have today. So I was thinking about different relationships and how they're all affected when you're unmothered, and so that's kind of what led me to this topic. It's touched on in my book. I can't go deep into every single thing, but this is one of the topics that I do talk about in the book. And so I want to make sure that I give it some time today. I'm not going to do a deep dive into it because there's so much we can get into when it comes to parenting. However, I do want to talk a bit about it. So, for those of you that are new to my page, thank you for joining me. Thank you for catching the replay. And let's jump right in. So, I'm Anjanika Brooks. And on my page here, I have a page on Instagram and one on Facebook. I talk about how to heal from being unmothered. And what I mean by being unmothered is, as a daughter, you may have experienced a mom that had toxic traits, or she was showed narcissistic traits. She maybe wasn't emotionally available to you, or maybe she was absent. She wasn't even in the home. And so because that is the way that I grew up, my mother was in the home, but she was a young mom and seemed very narcissistic, very much into herself, very selfish when it came to things she should do for herself versus things she should do for us. And so that's how I grew up, and we didn't have a very good relationship. However, I wanted a good relationship with her, and I thought we were going to have that, and it just did not turn out that way. I also have siblings, but I feel like every child's relationship with their parent is different. All the kids aren't going to get treated exactly the same, and all of them aren't going to experience you as a parent the same. And so that was the situation with me and my mother. And so eventually my mother became ill. She was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I lost her. She passed away. And so, although we had had some trouble before she passed away, I feel like most of the pain that I experienced was in her passing, after her death, because I was sort of lost. And so, in all of that, I knew that there was this book that was inside me and that I had to get out. And so it took some time, it took some lessons, it took some learning, but I eventually got the book out. And so the book is here now, and here it is. It's called Unmothered: A Daughter's Guide to Acceptance, Healing, and Renewal. And so in this book, I have what I call the 9 steps to healing. And it is specifically for daughters. Like I said, that's what I talk about on my page. It's just how to help motivate daughters that have experienced those types of challenging relationships with their mothers. I try to help them to get to the best part of life, because that's what we're all here for, right? We don't want to stay in pain and misery. Nobody wants that. Okay, so that's how I got here. That's a little bit of my backstory. I love to write, and so I am just using what I feel like God gave me as a gift to help people. So the book is here. It has what I call the 9 steps to healing. And when you start to heal, although it's a difficult process, there are many, many benefits that you will experience from healing. And so one of those, I think, can be a better relationship with your children, if you have children, or even if you have nieces, nephews, little cousins, or just someone that you may be close enough to mentor or have the privilege of mentoring. Then I feel like you can still benefit from this content. So what do I mean when I say that when you're unmothered, it affects your relationship with your children? Well, I think there are, about 4 things that I highlighted here in my notes. There's probably a lot more. But the things that I highlighted were: 1, when you grow up in a home and you have a mom that's either, she's emotionally not available, or maybe she's exhibiting she's exhibiting narcissistic traits, meaning she's very selfish, very self-centered. She doesn't understand your needs and how she should take care of you as a mom. Or either she's toxic and she's saying things that aren't good. She's not encouraging, those kinds of things. When you grow up like that, you miss out on some things. And so when I first started writing the book, I put together a little survey. It was just a Google form to kind of gauge how people were feeling about the content, about the subject, and it was if they wanted to weigh in. And so what I found from the survey, and I want to say about 40 people took the survey, 40 women. I don't believe there were any men, but I think about 40 women took the survey. And what I found was that all of us want unconditional love. We want unconditional love and support from our mother. We want them to be available to us. We want better communication. I'm not looking at all of the list right now, but from everything that I remember going through when I pulled the data together, a lot of us were saying the same things, and we felt like we wanted our moms to be able to adapt and change, to different situations, because we're all humans, we're all growing, we're all people, and that's going to happen. And so we needed our moms to adapt. And so that's not what happens all the time. So when you're growing up in a house like that and something is missing, what is it that's missing? It is that unconditional love. Sometimes there isn't the support that you need. The encouragement isn't there. There are times when your confidence is torn down rather than being built up. It could be something negative that's said. Sometimes you have the mom or whoever it is that's raising you that says, oh, you can't do that, or you're not good at that, or you're never going to be able to do whatever. Sometimes it's things like that where they don't even think about how that truly affects you, but you're taking it in as a child. And so you might miss out on some things because you're not being fed in the right way. And I mean fed like nurturing your spirit, fed in the right way. Another thing is you might not have a good example of how to be a parent. So if you decide that you're going to have children and you came from that environment where you were unmothered, how do you know what to do? Now, granted, for me, my grandmother was in the home, and so that made all the difference, right? Or I probably wouldn't be here right now. So that made all the difference. And she was a great mother. And everybody has their flaws. It's not, no one's perfect. We're not talking about perfection here. However, some of us don't have another example, or the examples are not very good, or her mother before her was toxic. And so the toxicity is being passed down. And so we don't have that example. So we really don't know what to do as parents. Another thing that happens sometimes is you pick up the toxic traits. So yes, you want to be a parent. No, you don't want to be treated like you were treated when you were growing up. But the toxicity gets embedded somehow. The bad things get in there subconsciously somehow. And you don't even realize it until you start, trying to take care of your own children, trying to discipline them, trying to, show them the right way to go. And then you hear some of the things that come out of your mouth and you realize where you got that from, right? And so sometimes it can come out in that way. And the fourth thing I'll say that happens when you're unmothered is sometimes it causes you to be too soft a parent. You coddle the children too much. You coddle the child because you don't want them to experience the negativity, the hurt, the pain, whatever you went through, and so you overdo it the other direction. And so those are just some of the things. It's not an exhaustive list. There could be many more areas where you might experience, some kind of lack or loss because you just didn't get it all, or you didn't see it in the home when you were growing up, so you just don't know what to do. So yes, there are many other areas. It's the boss of boundaries that just joined. Hi, Shatera. So anyway, so what do you do? What do you do when you are, you have these children, or either you may have cousins, nieces, nephews, like I said, or just you're in a position where you might be a mentor or someone's looking up to you, even if that's not what you chose. What do you do? What are some ways that you can negate what happened to you? And as you know that you don't want it to play out again, what are some things that you can do? So, I think the first thing you can do is to pay attention. You have to assess what it is that you're missing. So, like in my case, it was confidence. I did not have I did not have any confidence in my abilities to do things or to go out and to be who I wanted to be because I I often was told that I couldn't do something or that I wasn't good at something. I was knocked a lot. Like if I thought I was going to be able to do this, then my mom would say, "Well, you should have done much better at that." And so I constantly felt like I wasn't good enough. So because I felt like I wasn't good enough, I didn't have the confidence. And so I have to pay attention to that with my children. How do I want them to show up in the world? Right? So I would say just kind of take an inventory of some of the areas that you feel like we're lacking. And I think that's kind of where the topic came up with apologies. And that was a hot topic. I posted this, I think it was a post. It wasn't just a story. I did a few days ago. And I said, has your mother ever apologized to you for anything? And it set off comments on both my pages, Facebook and Instagram. I had people going in. I had DMs. It was a very sensitive subject, which all this whole thing is, which is why we need to talk about it. But yeah, people felt like, on the whole, not on the whole, mostly moms do not apologize. They do not apologize. They do not feel like they have to apologize. And so I get that. I understand probably where that thinking comes from, but I absolutely lived that. My mother could do something and, she didn't feel like she had to say anything about it. And if you felt something, it was fix your face. I don't want to see any tears. Don't give me any attitude over it. Or you get mad, I'm gonna get mad. Same thing that makes you laugh can make you cry. Any kind of feelings that you had, she was always right, and so she didn't have to apologize for anything that was done. And so that teaches you something as a child, and I feel like it teaches you that you don't deserve respect from other people, and it really doesn't matter whether they're adults or not. Yes, we should respect people that are older than us, and I think there's a certain way you treat everybody. But children sometimes get the short end of the stick because they are a child. And so that was what I posted it, and it, like I said, it set off a bit of a firestorm because people were passionate about that thing. And there were moms that did apologize, and I think that that's just one of those just key examples that shows you, if there's something that you feel like didn't happen with you and you want that to be different, pay attention to that and go after that. And so that was a big one for me. The next thing I think that you can do when you're trying to be a good parent or trying to learn, just how to affect change in your family, with like I said, nieces, nephews, I think that you need to read. There are books out there. Books are out there for a reason. Not all books aren't equal, no, but you can pick and choose, be choosy, and find something that's good. You can get recommendations. If you're seeing a therapist, therapists sometimes have really good recommendations for books. There's all kinds of places you can get recommendations for, and you can also just start, just Googling and searching and kind of reading the synopsis of books to find things that might help you, because we do not all have the answers. We don't have all of the answers. And I think that's just a part of education. You need to educate yourself. There's nothing wrong with learning, even when it comes to children. Now, I, for one, am always afraid I'm gonna mess it up real bad. And these are my babies. I don't want to do that. But there are times when we're wrong and we need to learn and we don't have all the answers. So I think reading, observe your child, observe how they are responding to their environment and what, how they are experiencing life, because every child is different. And I think you need to definitely talk to them. So it takes having conversations. And when you talk to them, I mean, listen more than talk. So, you check in with them and ask them, how's their day going? How are things going with them? Is there anything that's on their mind? And you just kind of hang out with them. And I think you find over time that it builds trust between you and the child. And this is, and I'm not a therapist, but this is just what I'm saying from experience. I feel like it builds trust, and you will find them coming to you more often. And I'll do this with my son a lot because he's the one that doesn't talk as much. The girls will share a little bit more readily most of the time. But with my son, he gets twists in his hair. So when I have him in my chair to do his hair, I'll talk to him. You know, he could be gaming, he might be working on an assignment or reading a book, but when he has like a little moment, I insert myself in there and I ask him how things are going, and we just talk it out. Okay, so I said, pay attention to what you're missing. I said, observe your children, get books, and I think the other thing you have to do is give yourself some grace. If you want to really change the relationship you have with your child and you want it to be different from what you have with your parent, with your mother, then I think you have to give yourself some grace and understand that we don't have all the answers. We don't know it all. And children are very dynamic. So because they experience life differently and they are going to be constantly changing, you're going to have to roll with it. You know, it's like, I don't know, when I was growing up, I want to say it was like Schoolhouse Rock or somewhere it was, they had the little commercials and they would teach you things and they had the thing that said, stop, drop, and roll. Well, you're going to have to stop, drop, and roll with the kids. And that just means to me is that sometimes you won't know the answer. You won't know how to parent in that moment or in that stage or in that phase. And you will literally go into survival mode where, you know, maybe you're just mostly holding them. You know, you're just holding them through it until you can figure it out, until you can get some help. Maybe you are listening more. Maybe you are, you know, seeking prayer or getting some help from trusted people, you know, that can kind of help guide you in that area. But you just gotta stop, drop, and roll with it because they're changing and they're just all different. And so I think that the last thing I'll say that could help you if you want to, you know, improve your relationship that you have with your child is to learn from the child. So while you're listening, while you are observing, while you're reading your books and all that, and you're trying, you know, different strategies with them, learn from them. Be open to that because they can really teach you something you didn't know. And I say learn from them because sometimes I think as adults and as parents, we feel like, you know, well, you don't know anything yet and you haven't been there yet. And while that is true, there are also some ways that kids approach the world that is just like totally different. It's totally different than the way we would think about something. And so sometimes they can really teach you, they can teach you something in a moment or when they're going through something. So yes, you always want to maintain control as the adult, but until you can get to a place where you can kind of stand up and be strong in your leadership of the child, it's okay to listen and kind of play off of what you're feeling from them. And I'm just saying this, like I said, from experience. I am not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. I don't have any degrees or certificates. This is just from experience and what I've learned. So it may work for you. It may not. But I think that if you're open to, you know, some of the things that I talked about and definitely to learning from the child, it can strengthen your relationship and it can make it different than the relationship that you had going forward. So the one last thing I want to say about the whole thing with being unmothered and how you want your relationship to be now with your children, I want to say legacy. To me, it's all about legacy. We have to remember that, and I think that sometimes we forget that just because life is so hard, life is tough. And when we're in the trenches, we don't always know like how our decisions right now are going to affect us later. But remember that children that you are able to affect, children that live with you, that are around you, your children, they are our legacy. And so I don't know if older people realize that. I know my mother didn't seem to care about that. It was more about competition. It was more about what she didn't have versus what I was going to have. I know my grandma tried to prepare me like with how to take care of a home and things like that. So in some ways she knew, But I think it's time for us right now, for our generation to put in our heads some new thoughts. And our new thoughts should be, this is our legacy. So if we weren't thinking about it before, then I think it's time now. And I have to put myself in there, because my oldest daughter is graduating, and it's almost like I didn't really realize she was graduating. I know this child is 18 now, and I know she's a senior. I've been with her the whole time. Me and my husband been with her the whole time, but she's graduating. And that thing just hit me so hard yesterday, because I was going through some stuff. There's been some issues. There's always discrimination when you are a person of color. I don't care. There's always stuff going on. But anyway, I thought about it, and I said, if they're having so much trouble dealing with me, what are they going to do with my children? Three of me, the best of me, they are coming. In fact, they're here. So it hit me so hard, and I said that it's legacy. The reason why we should be building these young people up, the reason why we should be worried about how our relationships are and making sure that they're different, is because they are going to take over. They are going to go and live out their lives and be who and what they were called to be. And we are charged with supporting them, with loving them through it, with giving them resources that we can give them, and just basically making sure that they can be successful. If they're not successful, it's not because we held back from them. You know what I mean? So while I'm not saying coddle them and spoil them, that's not what I'm saying. Discipline is definitely needed. I am just saying it's time to change our thinking and to really look at them like, okay, we're going to hold you up. We're going to push you up because you got next. You got next, and we want you to be successful. We are putting out there our best selves. You know, the best part of us is what our children really is what they represent, is what the new generation is going to be. And so in order to make them strong, and in order to do it right, I think we give them confidence from the jump. We don't tear them down. Correction doesn't have to be, like completely crushing their spirit, right? There's a way to do it, and we will have to learn that, and we'll have to work on that. But that is our charge, and that's what I think we need to do. And I'm in the trenches, y'all. I mean, I have 3 kids, and they're all different, and everybody's going through different things, and we do like therapy. Therapy helps us, so that's new thinking for us. I didn't grow up with that. We do talk at the dinner table about anything. So happened that I think my son brought up something at dinner the other night, and one of the kids said, no, we can't talk about this now. And I said, no, we can't. Remember, the dinner table is open. You can bring anything you want to talk about, and we will hash it out, the 5 of us as a family, and weigh in. And sometimes it gets some really good conversations going, but I think we just want to encourage, just new ways of thinking. And so I don't have all the answers. I've said this before. One of my children suffers from depression. And so, there's not going to be a time where you don't have it all together. It's just not. There's just no way, because the kids are different. So even if you are that perfect parent, you're going to sometimes get thrown, a monkey wrench gets thrown in there, and it's a child that, you didn't deal with before, or the first one wasn't like that, the second one, or something. So we have to have that grace in mind, and we have to have the new mindset of how we're going to support them, how we're going to push them, because they are our legacy. So that is what I have for you today, guys. I don't know if you have questions. I see Cynthia joined. Hey, good to see everybody. It's just good to be here on a Friday. I'm off today, so doing some self-care today. I actually had some use or lose leave, but I'm not going to lose it. So I'm here. And so trying to bring all this together, and so we can be on purpose and start living our best lives. So that is what I'm here for. That is my talk. As always, if you guys have comments, questions, you want to talk more, or I don't know, pick my brain, you can DM me. I also have a scheduling tab on my website, and you can schedule some time with me there. I have 20-minute increments. And if you can't get to the website, or you just don't feel like it, you can DM me, and we can set up a time if you want to talk more. But I am here for you. This is something that I love to do, help people, or try to help people. I am not a guru. I am just a woman that has lived life, and life wasn't always kind, but I'm still here, and so that means I have purpose and I have something to do. So I'm trying to be on purpose, trying to live out my life's dreams of just writing, helping people, and doing the best that I can. So I am here for you. DM me, get at me, let me know what you need. And I guess until the next live, I will see you around in the social media world. I hope you guys have a good Friday. Enjoy the weekend.